G'day, Learner Dad here. Today I want to talk about anger, and that's anger from parents expressed towards kids, and how I think that can look. So this morning I had a moment. I was, how busy dropping kids off to school is. I'm not going to tell you all the details because if my daughter ever found this video in 40 years, she'd be like, "Dad, did you have to tell everyone everything?" Anyway, I'll keep it simple. I had a really clear idea in my head, and you know that feeling when you've got a real clear idea and then your son or daughter just is like, "Yep, all right, cool," and they're okay, right, let's execute, and then they go like, and so they didn't really understand what you wanted. Anyway, it was a bit of a public one, and I got a bit angry, and it probably lasted about 3 seconds, and I looked like the biggest bogan parent in front of all the other parents for about three seconds. While my daughter caught up. She caught up and I was like, cool. Gave her a bag and then went back to baseline, just being normal. So that was sort of what prompted me to think about this anger stuff, and I've been thinking about it for a while. So the basic premise is that I think anger is valid, and the way that you deal with it with other things shows kids how you think anger can be dealt with. It's like an example, and how you deal with your kids with your anger, which can be pretty often sometimes, also displays to your kids how you sort of expect anger to be dealt with. So all those moments like this morning are examples that you can give to your kids. They can take them on board and use them themselves. So I think my basic premise is that yes, anger is valid, and it is something that you can teach your kids through role modeling to how to deal with. However, I often see, and I think that a lot of parents think that all anger, their premise is that all anger is bad. If you ever express anger in front of your kid, then you are doing the wrong thing. So like, and I'm sure, I'm not going to explain it, but I'm sure you know what that looks like. I know what it feels like. It's because you're like, I'm really angry with something, and then it takes so much anger to hide that, so much energy to hide that anger as you like continue through, and I'll get into it. But so I've come up with 4 different little ways of how anger can be processed in front of your kid, and there's a whole lot more, but these 4 are also related to each other. So the first one is like the real one, like what happened this morning. It lasted 3 seconds. I can't remember what I said, but it wasn't nice. It was angry. If you took my heart rate, it was like a genuine anger, and I was angry. She got it. The parents around us got it as well. Too bad. However, I gave her bag, and I got back in the car, and like genuinely my anger, my mood had turned to baseline almost pretty quickly. Like it probably took like 5 seconds, and my heart rate came down. When I took off in the car, I didn't take off like a maniac. I could sort of feel in the ether that other parents were waiting for me to do a burnout, and not because I was having a challenge with them. I was just like, I'm actually not angry. I've got sorted what I needed to get sorted, and I'm moving on. So that's the first one. Real anger experienced in front of the kid. It can be with the kid or with another thing they're watching, and you're back to base. You process it, you get back to baseline really quickly. The other one is I call it the fake back to baseline. So there's plenty of times where I'm like trying to, I don't know, let's say brushing your teeth. No, that's not a good one. Okay, brushing your teeth, 2 siblings are fighting about it. There's nothing to fight about. It's more just silliness. And you've got something to get done. You're in a good mood. And you're like, I'm in a good mood. My 2 kids are fighting with each other. I can start to feel my anger coming up, but I'm going to deal with this with anger consciously. And this is like I use the word fake, but it's not quite fake. It's like a little, I don't know what it is. I'm calling it fake. But I would go in there and I'd be like, girls, teeth. And then literally in the next second, like I could probably have a conversation just like I just did then. So it's like anger, baseline. And again, it looks similar to the first example I gave, where you're genuinely angry and you come back to baseline. The second one is you're not really angry. It's a fake anger. And I'm going to call it that, fake anger, back to baseline. And then again, both situations, even if the kids are sensitive and know exactly what's going on, they're like, hey, he's not really angry. I've still got some leeway here because he's not really angry. But I'm pretty good actor. So my girls are like, oh, whatever it is, he's letting us know that it's gone to another level. We should probably just brush our teeth. So real anger, back to baseline. Fake anger, back to baseline. And they are what they are. Your girls can see both of them. Your kids can see both of them. The next one, I call it a real one, but we'll call it real with fakeness, a fakeness that I don't like creeping in. So what you're doing is you are like genuinely, if I could get inside your head and your heart, you're like angry. But the fakeness comes when you're like, I believe that anger should not be expressed to or in front of kids. And then for the next 10 minutes, it'll probably feel like an hour. You do all you can to do mental somersaults and whatever you got to do so that the kid sees no inkling of anger. So that is, I'm still thinking of a name, but we'll call it the real brackets fake. So like you really genuinely, your heart rate's gone up, you are angry, the kids are fighting when they're having fish and chips, and they keep putting the fish and chips just on the table with no plate or bit of paper or anything. I just made that up. You're really angry because you just want to have the fish and chips, but you're pretending like, oh, darling, we don't eat like that. We eat like this, blah, blah, blah. And then like it escalates and you're like, I'm angry. I want to throw these chips out the window. But you don't acknowledge that anger and you pretend that you're not angry for the sake of your kids, because you believe that your premise is that anger has no place. You should never show kids examples of anger. So this is one I have done it, but I genuinely don't like to. And we all know how draining and detailed and big the job of parenting can be. So to add that added thing, it just takes your energy away. And it's an easy trap to fall into, because you're like, with anything in life, if you're working hard and you're really putting in the effort, you feel like you're doing the right thing. You're like, oh, I've done so much work, and you've done like 7 minutes of fish and chips. But because you've been holding on to anger for that whole 7 minutes and gritting your teeth, it feels like an hour, and you're like, oh, A1 parenting, I'm doing the right thing. And it's one of the many dimensions of parenting, but I would say you're not teaching your kids how to process anger, and you're not doing the best for your own stress. And after chips, when they're brushing their teeth, or I don't know, I've got a lot of brushing teeth at the moment. I just let my girls brush their teeth. Anyway, fish and chips are done, you move on to the next thing. Let's say getting dressed or getting in the shower. Get in the shower, that's what we're doing. Getting in the shower, and somehow, because you've been focusing on processing or failing to process your own anger and trying to be friendly, this same little issue that was niggling in fish and chips somehow just jumps over into getting dressed. And then you do explode. And then you get real anger and you can't regulate it. And then it comes out, it doesn't last 3 seconds, it lasts like a lot longer than 3 seconds. And what can happen is you can outburst, and then you're like, that little dip just after your outburst where like you get the baseline, you don't give that to yourself, because what happens is you're like, no, there's been friggin' 15 minutes. To you, you'll probably think it's an hour. There's been an hour of this stuff that's been happening. You haven't listened to all the polite things I've said, and I can see that you're at baseline, and you have not acknowledged that I am not at baseline. Acknowledge it now, and then you will like artificially process your own anger, and you'll be trying to show your kids that you're angrier, or that you're angry, and then you'll be like, what the hell am I doing? This parenting thing is so hard. So that's the third one. Real anger that is not processed, you'd hide it. It usually doesn't come out that good. Anyway, I like to keep my videos to 10 minutes. This one's getting a bit long. The fourth one, I don't even know what it is. I'm just going to read it. Daddy is very upset because blah, blah, blah. But I think I've already explained it. Back to baseline with residual. Yeah, so I've sort of explained that. Okay, well, so you can see the dynamics of the real and the fake, and I think you can see where I stand. Another example, and this is sort of what scares people off. Man, it's hot. I turned the car off so that it wouldn't get hot. Let's get real. School time. Look at all those stressful parents. They're all the late ones. I'm like one of the awesome ones that's already done it. And anyway, it's a bit after. Oh no, 8:45. Anywho's, this example that I'll give. And there's so many different examples of anger in parenting and how you can process and provide examples for your kids. This one is what I think is the big mistake. You definitely don't want to be in this one and live in this one, but it's what people see and make the mistake of trying to ignore anger. So what happens is, let's just use the most class-based system I can think of, because I've already gone over time. You're getting fish and chips, right? Or you're dropping your kids off at school, and there's this parent that's just like, I told you to do that. It's just like your father. And then the whole experience is anger, and it's genuine. That's not something you want to live in. And then the kid's like, what? Well, they probably wouldn't give them that much. They'd be like, I don't know what she's talking about, I just do things. And then the kid looks at the pinball machine at the fish and chip shop, and they get over here, and the kid's like, no. And then the parent just gets angrier and angrier. They swear, and then the kid's got a snotty nose, and then you're like, us high class parents, we're sitting there looking at that, go, oh, I'm not going to be like that, I'm not going to live in anger. Therefore, hiding anger is Hiding anger is the best route. But my advice is, don't be so judgmental. My advice really is that, obviously try not to live like that. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater or the fish and chips. You need to do whatever you want. But acknowledging that anger is real. It's the same for you as that bogan at the fish and chip shop. The idea is to be able to use it in a genuine, real way, process it, get back to baseline like should happen with most things in your life. I'll leave it at that. It is what it is. And my name is Learner Dad, and I'm very angry this morning. My face is a bit red. That's just because it's hot, not because I'm angry. Leave me alone. It's so much more complex than that, but I'm going to leave it at that. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and on Facebook. Like me on Facebook, subscribe to me on YouTube. Thanks for listening.